Hi there, it's Denise from Balance Me Coaching, and I'm here to share some tips, tricks, and practices to reduce the stress in your life. Today I've got Adriana with me. Hi, Adriana.
Hi, Janice. Thanks for having me.
So, Adriana, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, before I became a BodyTalk practitioner, I was an interpreter for almost 20 years. So, I graduated in language and literature and specialized in translating and interpreting. And then I was doing healthcare. And then after I was thinking about switching careers anyways. I was at the same time working as a medical secretary at a doctor's office. And so that doctor was retiring at the time. And so everything kind of fell in place. And I, wanted to switch careers, and then BodyTalk came along. So I was in interpreting field. So I do my BodyTalk sessions in different languages. I do it in English, Portuguese, Spanish, and Italian. I worked as a BodyTalk mentor at a BodyTalk community clinic that used to be in Toronto a few years ago. I did it for a couple of years. So we were mentoring students that were becoming certified in BodyTalk, and also helping low-income community to receive sessions. And also I work on animals as well. So I do BodyTalk on both people and animals remotely. And so that's pretty much my story.
Okay. So, Adriana, what is Body Talk?
So BodyTalk is a holistic mental body-mind medicine that is designed to lower stress levels in the brain, number one, and to reconnect the lines of communication between brain and different systems in the body, which become compromised when we are under stress. So it is really about how we settle our relationships and how we deal with them. We're talking about external relationships between people and things also, right? Objects, things in your house, cars, you name it. And also how we deal with those, and how we store all those emotions. So there's always an emotion connected to anything that we deal with in our lives. It's not necessarily, straight, into doing something. So BodyTalk really clears the memories from the imbalances that really made that communication breakdown in the first place. And the scope in BodyTalk is to really strengthen the lines of the neurons, brain cells, and make them start shooting strong signals into the body, which become weak when stresses kick in. And then, of course, if those signals, when they hit the target, they stay there for a long time, and if it's a prolonged thing that your health is functioning at a less than ideal state for a long time, that will make you develop diseases in the body-mind. So BodyTalk addresses that and makes the body clear everything naturally.
So, how does it work, or how is a session done? Like, how do you deal with clients?
So BodyTalk can be done hands-on and remotely. So it didn't really affect me with COVID because BodyTalk is made of different principles from Eastern Western medicines, and one of which being quantum physics. And quantum physics states that everything comes from one energy source. Everything is connected externally and internally in our body. So everything is communicating, right? So there's no empty space. And what we see as matter, as solid, right? Computer, TV, homes, chair, table, etc., and ourselves, it's all energy vibrating at a very high speed, which gives us the illusion of being solid, right? And because BodyTalk bases itself on energy, on the quantum physics energy principle, it's easy to address the whole body like on all levels. So we don't really focus on the symptom. We focus on bringing that communication and balance back, and the body would do its job to heal itself. So BodyTalk when I communicate with somebody, if I'm doing a session hands-on per se, the person would come lie down on my treatment table, and I would start communicating with the individual by getting neuromuscular biofeedback responses from the wrist, or also called applied kinesiology. And by following this protocol chart behind me, which is the BodyTalk practitioner's GPS, which will allow me to navigate the body, mind, and consciousness, and clear everything, address everything that needs to be looked at by me. So the body will let me know, hey, these are the priorities in healing. This is where you need to put your attention on right now, and help me clear this. Because the body, as you probably know, has innate abilities. So the body knows how to heal itself naturally. So if you cut yourself, twist an ankle, burn your skin, you give your body a few days, weeks, and it's gone, right?
Yeah.
So, but because of stresses, that ability of doing its job becomes compromised, and that's how where I come in. So I make sure that I align the priorities in healing in a formula order, which is a mathematical formula actually, and then by using tapping, which is a very ancient indigenous technique, I will integrate the session into the three brains, which is the head, heart, and enteric brain. So each brain has a different function, right? So we tap on the head to bring awareness to the body as to what's going to happen to healing or to modifications within the body mind. We tap on the heart to make the heart store the memories of those changes and also distribute the changes throughout the body mind. And on the enteric brain, also called the gut brain, to digest and to decide to heal. So all that information is going to be digested by the enteric brain, and then it's going to be the last word in healing in the body, and that's when the body starts healing. And BodyTalk heals as deep as cellular and quantum levels, so it's permanent when the healing is adjusted.
Wow. It's amazing, eh? Is there a little demonstration that you could give us?
Absolutely. So BodyTalk, so there are two things in BodyTalk. So you can receive a full BodyTalk session in order to balance the body mind and look for the root cause, address traumas, fears, phobias, really look into your storyline to make sure that everything is cleared and adjusted accordingly. When we do BodyTalk sessions on somebody, the memories of those sessions are stored in the body mind. So the body remembers every session received and builds up from there. But BodyTalk is also formed of different techniques, which I will use accordingly throughout the session. However, the main technique in BodyTalk is called the balancing of the cortices. And the cortices is just the plural for cortex, which is the two hemispheres of the brain. So just explaining a little bit what happens during the balancing of the cortices. So basically, we are going to be doing the tapping of the three brains. However, there is what's going on here in the brain at the time. The other hand is going to be doing the bridging. So one hand is going to be anchoring both hemispheres so they communicate, reconnect. And this is done due to the polarity that we have in the hand. We have the north and south polarity. And all the energy field from the hand is going to be doing the tapping, but it's going to be activating the energy field inside the body. So it's creating a sort of tsunami, as we call in geography, but it's an energy wave. So everything inside the body is being activated, right? So that shooting wave is going to be distributed throughout. While the other hand is going to be doing the tapping. It's going to be anchor. One does the anchoring here. The other one is moving up, because we will have to cover all brain positions to activate every single function in the brain. And when all those functions are activated, we are promoting health on all levels. Right? So it's vision, it's hearing, it's stress, it's communication within the different organs in the body. So everything gets boosted and the body starts healing internally. All right. So we want to give it a shot.
Sure.
All right. So pick a hand, place with the fingers unclosed on the very base of your skull. The other hand, with fingers wide open, will be doing the tapping. You can place your hand this way, or you can place it this way, whichever is more comfortable for you. I prefer this way, it doesn't feel awkward for me. Uh, and then while you're tapping, you have to take full deep breaths, 2 full deep breaths, in order to do the scanning of the lighter and the denser parts in the body mind. So we're going to do tapping of the head, of the heart, and of the enteric brain, anywhere around your navel area, close to your belly button. So it doesn't matter how many times you're tapping. What matters is 2 full breaths that you're taking while you're doing the tapping. When you've done taking the 2 full breaths, you go up 1 hand position exactly from the point you were at before, without leaving any spaces. And you keep tapping. So every hand position that's covering my head is really activating every single brain function. So it's enhancing your eyesight, your memory, your sensations. So everybody has a different speed regarding breathing. So some people will breathe faster than others, and that's fine. It also depends on how many times, the size of the head, right? Some heads will need less hand positions, other more hand positions. So it doesn't matter. So whenever you get to the front, to the forehead, that's fine. When you get to the very top of the head, that's where the hands will meet. So you can tap on top of the other hand if you wish, or you can move it over. It's up to you. I prefer to leave it here. It doesn't bother. It doesn't affect the results of the tapping at all. Now, the very last brain position from the front to the back to the front is the forehead. Make sure the hand is above the eyebrow line. Close the fingers, and then you tap, and deep breathing. The deep breathing is scanning for the areas of imbalance within the body mind. And some people will deep breathe deeper than other, as you can notice. And that can be also because of some obstruction in the diaphragm, either if you're a smoker or not, or if you have emotional obstruction in the diaphragm. Diaphragm, heart, lungs, they hold a lot of emotions. And so if they're there, we need to let them go, right? So that a BodyTalk session does that. So you're going to do the limbic brain, both sides of the emotional brain. Make sure that you're above your ears. Yeah. And then let go of one hand first and tap. It doesn't matter which one. 2 full breaths again, and tapping head, heart, and enteric brain. Then you connect one more time, and we're going to do the other side. See, you're relaxed already, I can tell.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here with this technique, we're done. Once you connect again, this is it. Once you know the props, all you have to do is spend 2 minutes of your day doing this. It takes 2 minutes to tap your cortices, and I recommend twice a day, morning and night. Or if you are under more stress than usual, if you in an argument with somebody, or you just had one, or you are about to give a presentation and you're tense, or you can't sleep at night, whatever the case is, if you're having a panic attack, tap your cortices, right? And if you one time only doesn't do the trick, do it again, doesn't matter. There's no side effects at all to this. If you go on my YouTube channel, which is exactly as you see on the screen, I did a 30-day challenge for the tapping of the cortices, just to really get people getting the hang of tapping the technique. And I did this because of COVID, just to give somebody some tool to use during stressful times, right? So if you watch the videos, there's a brief explanation in every video about BodyTalk, and then I demonstrate the technique. Once you learn how to do it, you don't need to watch a video, just do it, and you can do it on everybody in your family, do it on your kids, show it to your husband, anybody, neighbors. And kids at school can also do it too. So if the teacher knows how to do it, they can tap on the kids, and the kids can start improving their memory, attention, focus. It's amazing.
Now I need to ask you, so how do you work on the animals?
Oh, yeah. So it's the same principle. The only thing is that when clients would come to me before COVID, and if the session was to be done on an animal, I wouldn't touch them directly because, for obvious reasons, animals cannot lie on their backs for about 30 minutes. But we would use the caregiver as a surrogate, so that they would come, lie down, focus on the animal, and then we would work on it that way. Now, if I do a totally remote session on both people and animals, all I have to do is think about the individual I'm working on. And because I don't use the individual's wrist to take the signals to the responses, I use my own fingers to do the resistance. And then I get my yes and no's, and then I build the session the same way. And then I integrate them by tapping the session on myself versus tapping it on the animal. And they receive immediately.
Wow, it's amazing. What success stories do you have with working with someone that's in extreme stress?
Oh my God, I've had many people just as by receiving BodyTalk, the first thing that they find is just like, oh my God, I was so tense and uptight, and I've been sleeping better. So I had people that had difficulty sleeping, focusing, and smokers. I had a distance session done on smokers that client of mine, and one was a remote session, and she was back in Brazil, and she was smoking 30 cigarettes a day. After having the one session done, she went down to 5.
Wow.
And then, of course, more work was necessary to make it cut down and off completely. Another client that came in person, she was also a smoker. And when she came for her next session, she went like, it doesn't taste the same anymore. So meaning there's a trigger in your brain that makes you go for a smoke, right? And whatever that trigger is, BodyTalk goes into the root cause. It's like peeling an onion and trying to get to the core of it. So we're going to nail and trying to find out what made you go eat excessively or drink or whatever the case is, because we all have something that we get attached to like a coping technique, right? Absolutely. Other than the cortices. Yeah. It is just our instinct goes to whatever gives us comfort, right? Yeah. Or protection or whatever the case. So smoking is a very good example regarding that, because it addresses not only a bad habit, something that's really bad for your health, and it's degenerating the organs inside your body, but it's also calming you down and your consciousness changes. So BodyTalk works not only on the conscious mind, but on the subconscious mind. So whatever is stored in there that we think that we've cleared, that we don't see, we don't touch anymore, guess what? Still there. Yeah. Right. And it can be a death of somebody dear in a family. It can be a breakup in a relationship. It can be anything like very stressful you've dealt with. And this is a coping technique that the brain uses to make us not suffer and relive it all the time. So what it does, it buries it into the subconscious mind. So we don't have access to it. And what happens a lot with clients when they come to me is like, and we talk about divorce and this and that because there's an intake form to be completed. But then they go like, oh no, I'm done with that. And guess what? It comes up in the session. And if it comes up,
you can only stuff it down so low, right? And it's still going to fizzle up every once in a while.
Yeah. So, and you know what? The trick is to not store anything unnecessary. And I can tell by my phone right now, the 32 gig of memory that I have here is gone. And guess what I need to do? I need to start deleting. Yeah. Right. And that's exactly what we have to do. Why are we storing stuff that we're not going to use anymore? It's just really stopping us from being ourselves, from moving forward, from attracting anything that we want in our lives, either a relationship, either a job, either a promotion, either conquer our fears and whatnot, right? Like going live for me, I didn't do this. I've been practicing BodyTalk for 8 years. And I've heard this for all these 10 years I've been with BodyTalk. You got to go live. You got to go live. You got to go live. And Adriana was not, okay, tomorrow, next year, whenever, when I'm ready. September came, and COVID was actually beneficial to me on different levels, to be honest with you. It was like a kick in the butt. So I went like, you know what? I didn't even know how to create a channel. I Googled somebody that had a very thick accent that I could barely understand. That's the only one that came up for me. I actually just followed the video and I'm like, okay. And I created my YouTube channel.
There you go.
So, and you think that it's going to be easy, but you know what? Body Talk helps a lot with your confidence, helps a lot to, strengthen your willpower and make you make decisions. And everything that happens after you start receiving Body Talk sessions is what your body needs. Either if it's to break free from a relationship, either if it's to let go of a job, either if it's to stop eating something that's damaging your health, right? And it comes up in the session, hey, you need to stop doing this. It does. So it's up to you if you're going to follow the props or not, right? If it's totally, you're in control. However, your body is screaming at you that you want something different.
Yeah.
And that's how deep of work this is.
Well, and I find too, working with clients, the biggest issue is saying no to things, decluttering your life and not doing tasks or commitments that are draining your energy. But a lot of my clients don't have the confidence to say no or to step back and to take care of themselves. So sounds like this would be a great mix.
There you go. And it's a lot of things we've heard growing up, right?
Yeah.
A lot of negative stuff that everybody has, and don't blame it on our parents because our parents didn't know better. And then they'll blame on their parents and their parents and their parents. But we have to break the cycle at some point.
Yeah.
We can't keep reliving somebody else's story because that's not ours. Yeah, it's patterns, right? Different patterns
Exactly.
and copycats of things that we've seen, and we found that was a model to follow.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to be very careful to what comes to us, right? And what's absorbed, and what you watch, what you read, what people you hang out with, and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Because then next thing you know, you're not yourself anymore, right? And you have to find out deep inside who you are. And Body Talk has the tools to do that and to really clear stuff that's really blocking your way. For you to coach somebody who's got strong rooted things that sometimes not even from this lifetime, maybe you need some help, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. When I went for Body Talk session, I went because a friend of mine told me. I had no idea what it was, but I was an easy sell. That's all I say, because I used to treat myself with Eastern and Western holistic therapies or regular therapies. I was spending somewhat between $300 and $500 a month on my own health by seeing all these people. Right? I had multiple musculoskeletal injuries, depression, you name it. It was a lot, like spinal stuff. I had a lot. I had maybe 11 injuries, 12 since I was born, right?
Wow.
So all these things, and then supplements, and take this, and every month it was the same spend. And I was like, where am I going with this? And then she came along, and I was like, I didn't question. I said, give me the practitioner's name and phone number. That's what I did. I booked a session. I went. The first thing that came up on my treatment table, it was nothing regarding what I went for at the time. I can't even remember exactly what it was for because there was so much going on at the time. And then the first thing that came up was the passing of my mother. And then I was like, whoa. And I had no idea. It had been 5 years since she had died. And I thought she was gone. Everything was clear, right? Oh, I started crying. And for the next maybe 3 sessions, all I did was cry. And it was all about my mom. So that's how deep stuff gets into us that we need to clear. And then only then you start moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. So what tips or tricks or practices, just in a nutshell, can you give the audience here?
Meaning like outside Body Talk?
Yeah, just.
Listen, because of, and that's another thing I've heard all my life, oh, you got to do yoga. You got to do yoga. You got to do yoga. I don't know. And you got to meditate. I heard those two forever. And it took me forever to start doing them. And trust me, I am a person who has had 3 concussions, not one. My first concussion was at 9 years old, and I had no idea I had had one. And it affected me throughout my schooling life, all the way through university, concentrating memory, I would burst at anybody. My temperament was horrible, and I had no idea what it was. My family used to really bash me all the time, thinking that I was mean, and I had no idea. And I'm like, what's this? So, and I didn't know I had a concussion at 9 until a few months ago. Because then I had a concussion at 4 years ago, and I had another one about a year and a half ago. So
Wow.
speaking to the brainstorming with the neurologist on the phone, I'm like, I had a concussion. The one I had at 9 years old, I rolled down the stairs, 14 steps. And then, of course, whatever happened there, right? And and now I started doing yoga maybe 5 years ago, and I stopped for 2. And because of COVID, I started YouTubing, and now I made it my daily practice. So trust me, the balance that had been very compromised with the concussions, I had a very big improvement with BodyTalk and all the other symptoms, sensitivity to light, and you name it, and headaches and blah, blah, blah. But my balance was still struggling, and I still haven't recovered 100%. I still maybe have a 25% to go. But my balance and everything else started improving so much through yoga.
Wow.
So yoga is like a number one thing. And it brings you down, and I can't even put it into words. It's just, it does it for me. So yoga, meditation, there's many types. You can just pick and choose, go on YouTube and find what works for you. You can go guided meditation, group meditation, just music, and stay there and do it. And I didn't know that meditating was about just, having thoughts going through your head, but it is. I'm like, I can't do this. And because that's exactly what happens when you're meditating, because everything starts going through your head. So you start watching that movie, but you think that you have to be an empty head when you don't. You just have to let it go and let it do what it needs to do. And set your time, how much time you can be there for, and try and increase it if you can. But I think it's important just to try and not think of anything else externally.
Yeah.
So those are my tips. Yeah.
Give the mind a rest. Now I just have one BodyTalk question. Now, is it a group of sessions that you recommend, or is it a lengthy number of sessions? Or
so there are different scenarios that you can work with BodyTalk. So you can do, if you want to do something more specific to your problem and really nail down what's really bothering you, then you go through your history, then an individual session will do. But if you have a group of people that want work on depression, let's say, or goal achieving, or whatever the case is, we can do a group session. As long as everybody is focused on the same theme, then we can make it, grow, then yes. So where the focus go, the energy grows, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly how it works. And it can be done on Zoom, it can be done online. Everything's online these days, which is great.
Exactly. Thank you so much for being here today. You learned so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. No, this is a very good conversation, and there's too much to cover about BodyTalk. It's really, when I do my workshops, or I used to in person, I used to do a 2-hour workshop with a free group healing session, so people would experience BodyTalk firsthand, which is something, if you're interested, I can totally share with your audience next time. But tap your cortices. I would suggest, if you are at home stuck dealing with whatever situation you're dealing with right now, and you want to change it, at least do yourself that favor. And you can tap your animals at home. If you have cat, dog, bird, you don't have to touch their head, but you can actually think of them while you're doing that on your own head. If you're pregnant and you have an unborn baby inside of you, you can tap yourself thinking of the unborn. Right? And because BodyTalk really looks into preventing, right? Let's say if you have a surgery you have to go for surgery. If you receive BodyTalk sessions before going to surgery, guess what? The results of the session, the surgery will be positive. There'll be no complications, right? And the healing, scar tissue and all that, if you do BodyTalk after, it takes care of that. So there's different layers within the body that BodyTalk addresses, which is really pretty much everything, but different scenarios. And people are like, is BodyTalk good for this? Is BodyTalk good for that? If you go on my website, there's a list of things that BodyTalk addresses, but that doesn't limit the list to that, right? It's really internal whole healing.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Adriana. And Adriana's contact information will be in the notes. And thank you for listening to this episode.